All right. So my guest today is Jordan Gauder from Gen Physio, and Jordan is an eight-figure business owner. So I've managed to steal him away from what is obviously a very busy, a busy job and get an hour of his time to come on here and talk about what it's like to run a successful multidisciplinary health business, particularly one that's focused very much within the NDIS, which is a really big talking point for many people at the moment. And today we're going to learn a little bit about Jordan, his backstory in business, the quirks of the NDIS, and even a little bit about the future of physio within this space. If there's time, we might even delve a little bit into what Jordan does with his 3 kids now, outside of being an 8-figure business owner. So welcome, Jordan. How are you, mate?
Yeah, really good. Thanks, Shane, for having me here today. And hopefully I can share some wisdom and add value wherever possible. I certainly don't feel like I'm a master, forever learning. If anyone's running a business and has a family and has those challenges, I might be able to help out or share what's working with me right now, which has taken a few years to really hone in.
Yeah, nice, mate. I wanted to start maybe just rewinding a little bit and just explaining a little bit about yourself. Like, we're actually both have a bit of cultural synergy. You're a
Yes.
half Sri Lankan, is that right?
Yeah, correct. Dad was born there and moved over to Melbourne when he was 9 years old,
Yeah. And
just
you've
south
been
of Colombo.
nice one. And you've been blessed with a surname that's less than 9 letters. What's the story with Gauder?
Well, it's actually Gauder, but I actually go with Gauder. Some go with Gauder.
Yeah.
Gauder. It's actually German. Shane, I know you know all about this, but with the different cultural backgrounds, being Sri Lankan, 1% of Sri Lanka is a burger percent, which is a European Sri Lankan. So that's sort of how my history came through. So the last name's actually German. My dad came over here when he was 9 years old, and I was born and bred in Melbourne.
Yeah, nice.
And mum's Australian, and got that nice half mix there. But not good at hopeless at cricket. If that was where the question was going, not
It's
good at
not
all.
actually. I'm full Sri Lankan, and I think I'm a bit hopeless at cricket nowadays as well. I think I had a dream once, but it became a reality. Jordan, so now you're running quite a large NDIS practice, but before the NDIS, because it hasn't actually been around for that long, you were in this space. You were operating as a home-based physio. Could you take us back right to the beginning of your business journey?
Yeah, definitely, Shane. Well, first things first, actually, where we are majority NDIS, but it's not as much as you think. So I typically say, we're a community allied health based business, mainly because about 55-60% of our work is in an NDIS, but aged care and working with the clients under a home care package and Commonwealth Home Support Program makes up the other 40% of what we do.
Yeah, nice.
And it's interesting that where we started at Gen Physio was of myself with big dreams of going out and growing and building a caseload in the community. I loved the mobile aspect or the home visit aspect of physiotherapy, and particularly the aged care clients. That was my background to begin with, starting out in aged care as a new graduate. And essentially, I got a good exposure to the aged care market and realized there was a huge gap in the community home visit aspects of aged care, and not even knowing about home care packages and not understanding that there was funding out in the community. That's kind of how we started, with myself with a massage table, car, running around and really working with majority of elderly clients, restoring their mobility, giving them some independence and quality of life. And that's the early days of 2015, 2016, when we all really started to take off. So well and truly before NDIS.
Yeah, yeah. And at the time, like if we rewound back to 2015 when you were just starting and told you this is where you would be in 2025, what do you reckon you'd say?
Couldn't imagine it. All I wanted to do was, I just looked in front of me. I wasn't too focused on looking 100 paces ahead. It was just, what's my first goal was to grow and build a consistent client caseload and get a consistent, revenue for my small business and build a reputation. And it was just one foot in front of the other. And it sort of just naturally, with with me being in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, nice. Do you see yourself as a physiotherapist who runs a business? Do you see yourself as a business owner or, a small business owner, so to speak? Or do you see yourself as an entrepreneur?
Interesting. I kind of go with the title founder. That's what I found. I felt resonated with me the most. I more or less do a CEO's job. I realize that now, and that I've been honing my craft and skill sets to understand how I can be the best business leader possible. So I would say I've got an entrepreneurial flair, but I would see myself as a business leader and physio second or third, really.
Yeah. Yeah. And was there a time when, I feel like we all make kind of like a mental shift where we go, right, oh, obviously you're not clinical at the moment, so there's been a physical shift in your job, but was there ever like a mental shift from being, a physio-led business owner to being this founder CEO? And can you tell us a bit more about?
Yeah, yep, absolutely. Well, it all happened probably around 2019. We grew the team to close to 50 in
Yeah,
total,
wow.
clinicians and also administration team members, or we call them support office team. And it was getting to a point where I was on the road, I was treating clients. Like, it got to a point where I would be busy, even just a half day, 2 days a week, seeing clients, coming from a full caseload down to, only a 1 day a week. And once I would see my clients, get back to the office around midday, fires were erupting, challenges were had. I felt like the business was trying to grow faster than I could get around it, and I felt like I was always one step behind.
Yeah, that's I can't imagine what it's like to be treating patients with 50 team members wanting your
It
attention.
wasn't. It didn't go down well. It didn't last long before I realized even one taking my eye off the ball for a second. It's like, when you're going in a car and when you have 5 or 10 team members, you're going at 60, 70 Ks an hour, things are picking up. Once it came to 40, 50, it was, you're really going past that 130, 140 Ks an hour where, you're really hitting some good speeds. You've got some good frameworks. You've got good amount of volume of clients, or if a clinician leaves, you've got, backup. You're in a good place, but also chaos seems to ensue.
So that's 2019. I imagine you probably had just kind of settled into that CEO founder role by about March 2020. Could you tell us a bit about what happened during the COVID period and how that affected your business?
Yeah, look, a lot of people can resonate with that period, that it's extremely stressful, not knowing what was going to happen. For probably the first 2 to 3 weeks, it was a bit of chaos. Obviously, a lot of fear with our clients. Cancellations were at record highs. You could go from full diaries to only having 10, 20% left in your books, and you're wondering, on a salary-based model that we have for our clinicians, we're very high in our fixed costs, that this was a real challenging point. So I was able to, in that time period, actually have conversations with both my admin team or support office team and clinician on who can we move to part-time, who can we move to reduce hours. And over about an 8 to 10 week period, I was able to reduce hours to appropriately to what our books were showing. And we had to act quick. And those conversations only happened days after sort of the announcement occurred, we just did a big hire of new starters and graduates. And it was all a big start to the year with big dreams of growing. And we had to obviously make a bit of a pivot to ensure that, we didn't run the car off the cliff, so to speak.
Yeah, 100%.
But within 2 or 3 months from memory, and this is a little while ago, trying to forget this period, but yeah, look, I mean, the team were looking for leadership, and they're looking for answers, and certainly don't like to think I have all the answers. And in fact, most of the time I don't, but it's bringing it out of the team that where the magic happens. But at that time, just being quick and reactive and making sure you're looking after, the running of the business, and making sure we're around. And 6 months to, particularly if it bounces back, which it absolutely did, bounce back and prove to be a really strong year for us.
Yeah, yeah. So at that time, were you just Gold Coast based with Gen
Brisbane
Physio?
as well.
And Brisbane.
So we expanded to Brisbane in 2017 and started to look at outer suburbs as well, and really greater Brisbane, all the way from Gold Coast up to kind of North Brisbane, West, and everywhere in between.
Yeah. So you've broken out of Queensland not long after. You're in Victoria as well.
Melbourne and Southeast Queensland are our two regions that we're focused on.
Yeah,
Moving
nice.
forward.
Nice one, mate. And what is it like being in multiple states? Like, what is that challenge like?
The hardest thing we could have ever done is, and have done, I believe, is the interstate jump, and losing that synergy or the economies of scale and density that you have in your region. It is very challenging. It's taken us a few years, and Melbourne's really starting to get some momentum in the flywheel, but not without some definitely hard lessons, and realizing that, that trying to control it and manage it from Queensland doesn't really work. You need to have it led from the region, and we learned that probably a little bit too late, and realizing we needed to get people who know the people, know the region, and really build it and support it from rather than thinking in a clinic world, because we have no clinics. We're 100% virtual, completely home visit. It's that clinic of 20, 30 minutes down the road. You do that going, well, this is actually not too bad. You can have clinicians go back and forth. You as the owner don't have to travel too far. But when you decide to go that 3 hours down the road, that's where, or even crazier, 2-hour flight, things become a little bit more challenging, and the markets are completely different. So now, obviously, we're in the same boat of NDIS and aged care, and treating clients with similar conditions, but just how things work can be different, and the challenges you have not the same. So you got to attack it uniquely.
Yeah. What's an example of like a Melbourne challenge that you might not face in Queensland?
A big one would say be growing our physiotherapy discipline. In Queensland, we're really strong. The people that I talk to, we've got, quite a significant size team of over 30 physiotherapists, whereas in Melbourne, we're finding to get the referrals and demand is more challenging. And that's because we're not the first movers, I believe, too.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a lot of competitors more in Melbourne than in Southeast Queensland, but I also believe that we've got a very strong reputation, and we've been here a long time, that we've got a good foothold on the market. So whereas we're kind of the new kids on the block down there, and to come in thinking it's all just going to fall into your lap, doesn't actually happen. So being really clear with a strategy on how to grow in those markets.
Yeah.
It needs to be refined different to where your home base is.
Yeah. Which sort of brings me to my next, real topic here, which is around the competition within the NDIS space itself, and how you can really, I suppose, position yourself and manage that. I think in any physio space, it's been hard to get staff for the last few years. But I think in capital cities, Melbourne and Sydney, clinic owners in these locations have really struggled. I think it's pretty much dog eat dog in the NDIS world as well. How do you manage that space? Noting, people will tend, like, there was probably a time where people were putting out 90 grand, 100 grand just to attract clinicians to bring them across. How have you managed that challenge?
There's probably not one clear answer that I can give you, because it's a multifaceted
of course
question. Some of the best changes that we've made in the last 18 months is really having a clear ascension plan or career pathway where they can get exposure and to some of those leadership roles. So rather than waiting, oh, you're not a senior, you're not ready yet, wait 4 years and maybe you can jump up, actually having something around that 2 year where they can step into a bit of an emerging space and work with the leaders a bit closer. And that's what the people wanted too. We put a survey out. It was really, why don't we just go back to our people? We've got some good sample size data there. And one aspect was the career mapping. And there were a couple of others, but actually one of them was KPIs. Clinicians in large really wanted very clear KPIs. And we were we just didn't have that. We didn't know how to work. We didn't know what formulas. We were worried how it's going to land. Having clear targets and actually reporting that on a weekly basis and a monthly basis. And actually, there's no silver bullet, but it was going to our people, what were they wanting? Implementing it for our current team who are loyal to us and being with us and want to give us feedback and really, then working on that. And then ultimately that attracted other talent, and we're bound to retain the new talent coming in.
Yeah, amazing, mate. And it sounds like getting those systems and that structure, and I suppose having really clear pathways for your people has created that change. Now, I suppose when we go and set KPIs, for example, if we decide we want our physios doing this much work and seeing this many patients, and we expect this sort of money coming in, that kind of works year to year. And then we have things like inflation, which are introduced into the system. And normally our price for appointments goes up with inflation. So it's not such a challenge, but the price of a consult has not changed for, correct me if I'm wrong, 5 years, 6 years
Yeah,
in the
6
NDIS
years. Yeah.
space.
So it's July 2019.
Yeah.
$93.99 is the max hourly rate for all clinicians apart from exercise physiology discipline.
Yeah. Which I struggle to get my head around what that means for a business like yours when operating expenses are going up, but the price per consult is staying stagnant, which means the only mechanism you really have to make any more money or to even balance the books is to have clinicians seeing more patients or to become leaner. And we've spoken about some of the things you've done to make your business leaner to address that challenge. What are you comfortable with sharing about how you've gone about that to remain a pretty agile business in that space?
Yeah, we've got a price or a margin compression issue with our NDIS sector, and I don't see it easing up anytime soon. In fact, it's probably going to stay a bit longer until a few more exit the industry, is my feel. This is what the government wants, and forcing companies like us and others to either shrink or grow, but being able to do it in a very low margin and ultimately give the best value for money from the government dollars. And you mentioned two things: becoming leaner wherever possible. For example, we downsized our head office 6 months ago, and that half the space.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, I've got views of Harvey Norman and Domain right behind me rather than the city. What do we really need? What do we not need? What's a nice to have? And going through that cultural shift wasn't easy because, certainly 2, 3, 4 years ago when the prices were the same, we were working with better margins.
Yeah.
So it's being leaner wherever possible. Then it's, over to the clinical space. We have to drive productivity. We have to be measuring performance. We just can't run a sustainable business in the government space without it. In fact, if you're not measuring your numbers in private practice too, I'm sure they have similar challenges than we do as well. We're working with similar challenges that we just can't control the pricing. So we have to look at how can we be productive? How can we reward productivity too through incentives? And how can we be really smart around waste and using data to make informed decisions. So if we wouldn't bring somebody on unless we really could see demand in an area, rather going, we'll bring them on, hopefully they'll grow into it, and a year later they still haven't got a full caseload or just got one. It's understanding, ramping up what your break-even costs are in productivity and then having them build from that, which then covers, the business costs. So productivity and being lean, that's how you survive when you can't control your pricing.
Yeah. Sounds like you're making a big effort to make, good business decisions through a financial lens and ensuring that that's justifiable through that lens before going for it, which is really impressive. Now, the question I've been dying to ask you is around, it's not actually around the NDIS, but it's around the shift because you're in both markets.
Yes.
And as you've said, with that price freeze effectively, people are going, right, well, I don't know if I can stay in the NDIS for this long. Maybe we need to go across to home care packages. Have you seen, it might not have happened yet, are you worried about the same marginal compression happening in that market?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not necessarily worried. I'm certain we can make it work. At the moment, aged care is working really well. We're very competitive. In fact, our rates are lower than the NDIS. So go figure. Yes, I think I'm excited for the changes in the aged care sector. People are going to look at it, potentially move over and look at more. That's fine. But where the model works really well is a mobile-only based business. that's our bread and butter, and we can do it with a lower hourly cost because we can density of clients in the community. But if you're a clinic, driving half an hour for a half an hour consult, the same price as your clinic, which is ultimately where it lands, and then drive half an hour back, you'd almost be crazy.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
that's where we can have our little advantage just based on our model.
Yeah, fantastic. Speaking of the future, you got 3 kids.
Yeah.
You got 3 kids and an 8-figure business, which sounds like it's pretty complicated. You're in 2 different markets at the same time. What is that like to be, how do you juggle the fact that you've got a pretty involved family life as well?
Yeah, look, I feel just starting on that was the best thing that ever happened to me. Obviously, family wise, I'm a family man. I love family, but it actually forced me to be a better business leader. That, and others will agree with this, I'm sure. But when you've got kids, time is of the essence, and rather coming into the work and what I'm going to work on today, or let me refresh my reports and emails at 10 o'clock at night and sit on the couch and really be what in your mind busy but not productive. You have to cut all that out, and by force too. So I was lucky enough that while having identical twin boys a bit over 3 years ago was definitely a shock to the system, and certainly that first year was really hard to adjust, but it forced me to be more productive with my time. And I really do work an 8 to 4:30 or 8 to 5 hours. Very lucky with that. And I can get, if I feel like I need to do more than that, then I know I need to hire somebody. I'm not delegating, I'm not using AI enough, or I'm just simply wasting time and not being productive. And I'm forced to work on those barriers because my wife will, she'll beat me over the head if I let that bleed into personal time and family time. What helped the most is routine, getting up at the same time each day, going to the gym every day at the same time, having similar clothes that I wear every day, and taking
Yeah,
that burden out of what do I wear and what
yeah,
nice, buttoned up shirt can I wear. And for the day, it's put that aside and try and limit the mind being spent in anything but, the work focus. So then when I can do all of that there, be really productive, then I can go home and put the family hat on and be present and be amongst it. And that's probably only just, we've got a baby girl now that's almost 5 months old, and I probably only just mastered that in time for baby number 3 to come in and to play, and got that. And obviously a supportive wife too, who is just doing a really good job looking after our kids.
What advice do you have? So I don't imagine there's that many business owners at your scale, but there's a lot of business owners who are, perhaps around $1 million, something like that, maybe a little bit smaller, who I don't know if they want to become your size, but are still having to navigate these 2 markets, the NDIS, the home care package market, and trying to figure out ways for them to survive and thrive in a very competitive space. What advice do you have for people at this level?
Yeah, look, you're at the $1 million mark. You're still very much in the weeds at that point. If you're not growing, you're dying. Like, I do sort of believe that in the business term. Whether it's growing your revenue or your gross margin or your profit or your professional, your mind and your education, or something has
Yeah,
to be
yeah,
growing. If you're wanting to reduce your stress, you want to make more profit, you want more freedom, you have to think about growing your business. And that will be the step one. In the $1 million markets, you might not be full-time clinical, you might even be half your week, but you keep all your easy clients that know you, that you can work with well, but it's your time, and it's very hard to give up when you're like, this is easy, and if I hand them over, I'm probably going to lose this caseload and this revenue. But you're going to have to go a step backwards to go 2 steps forwards. And I feel that at that $1 million mark, it's really, you're still the key driver in your business, and you may not have the ability to hire a senior leadership team like we do and have certain skill sets to take you to another level. You're very much in the mix. So you need to start thinking about, how am I best using my time? How can I best invest in myself? Or, find a mentor. I've had mentors and coaches. You absolutely need it. You need guidance, whether it's paid or not. I think it's critical to get that support, but you really need to think about how you can reduce your clinical caseload further, and think about how you can invest in yourself more. And by doing that alone, you'll be able to jump from 1 to 2 to 3 before you know it. But it's a lot of limiting beliefs that you have to push through, especially parents going, well, you went to university and you've got 2 degrees behind you that cost an arm and a leg. You don't even want to know what Bond University charges for a degree these days. So why are you giving up your caseload? Well, it doesn't make sense when you have to actually have the mindset. If I want to help more people, I need to be a better leader, and I need to and coach and develop and recruit a strong team and be present for them and support them. And if I can do that, we'll continue to grow and I can help more people. It just won't be through my hands. And once you make that shift, then it's okay. Then that will be your next step.
Yeah. I remember the first time I reckon I went down from 5 days, and I introduced one day where I didn't go into the clinic and just did my work. And it was by far the busy, like my diary of events and things to tick off just exploded. And I'm going, whoa, there is a lot of stuff I've been pushing aside here or just not touching that really needs attention at this point. And you quickly realize that once you give yourself a day, it's not enough. And then it's like, all right,
that's it. You're chasing your tail, right?
Yeah.
You get a bit of breathing room. It's going good. I'm getting a few things done. And then ultimately you probably grow. You hire a couple more clinicians, you bring in more clients, you fine tune your marketing, and the flywheel picks up a bit. But then you end up being the bottleneck of your own business again without you really knowing it. And before you know it, that list of things that you need to get to starts building up. It's not urgent. It's not important. It's maybe not urgent, but they're important.
Yeah,
so you
exactly.
push it behind, and then they become urgent when sooner or later. And that's when you realize that you have to learn how to level up your time and get more done, but without your particular using your hands. And I've seen, and I've arguably done this myself, I actually went, great, I'm going to delegate out. And I actually delegated too much away. And so then the financial aspect wasn't talking. Overheads blew out, costs were running out. And I went, actually, we're not ready for this, so I had to bring it back in. So it's in the stages and steadiness and reading the data and making the right decision at the right time. But until you're in it and you're up to that, and you won't know what to do unless you have the time to think about it and to learn and push through.
Yeah, exactly. It reminds me that a lot of staff are quite comfortable to take on some of those responsibilities. If anything, they're happy to, but it comes at the cost of revenue, and it's an enormous change to your books when your staff members are no longer revenue generating as well.
Yep, and that's 100% right. So that's an important ascension for your clinicians and for your business to grow. You need to have your people growing with you and developing them and giving them the opportunity, which ultimately a lot of them really want it. Not everyone, but a lot do want the opportunity to step up and take more on. But, just because your business might only need one person, but you got 3 that's wanting it, not going out and just giving it to all 3 to keep them happy, even though the business is telling you we only have enough work or need for one. You have to make that a hard call and go, look, it's the right call. Doesn't mean it's not hard, but then you use the right data in front of you to talk to the other 2 that may not have made it through if they all apply, and you take them through a process and let them know that. And before you know it, in 6 or 12 months, you grow, things happen, someone leaves, they get an opportunity. But it's, taking them through that journey and being clear in your messaging is hard to do when you never have or feel that you have enough time, and give them the short spiel, which might not be enough for them to really understand.
Yeah. So, amazing, Jordan.
Yeah.
Nice, mate. You've unpacked so much in 45 minutes here. And I feel like I've still got hundreds of questions for you to really, really dig into. But I wanted to thank you for your time and the advice and some real, I think your clarity of how to systematize your business and how to make, good decisions probably shows how challenging it is at an 8-figure model. It's not like, hey, we're a massive business, we just do whatever we want to do. Like there's probably more detail in each decision that you're making now. And that's what's really coming through from talking to you as well. I'm like, wow, this must be really fun.
Yeah, to be honest, as I said, we're 10 years in business this year, and I'm only just feel in the last 12 months, and figuring it out at the 8-figure level. Now, I figured out the 6-figure, then I figured out the 7-figure, but the 8-figure level and growing further in that space, it's not around how cool you look or how nice your hair is, even though I, try and take pride in that, of course, but it's around your leadership team and the senior leadership team. How they living by your values? What's their performance like? How are they instilling the values of the business and the goals and the direction through their team? And it's the layered approach. And then I'm ultimately the custodian of accountability with all of that. And then the team are now doing a bit, and then understanding the data, right? Because you're not looking and, hey, they didn't do this, or it's the data is saying something's going on here and it's not working well. I'm going to go in and investigate. Like a clinician, you're going to diagnose and use your questions to your leader to understand what's going on in this space, to where's the bottleneck or the issue, and then how can you work through it together.
Yeah, it's a common theme amongst people who've been in this space for a long time. It's how much you invest in yourself and how that filters through to your people and into your organization, which isn't a plug for business coaching, but it kind of is at the same time.
I watch your stuff, Shane. I love what you do. Obviously, a fellow physio in Sri Lanka. I mean, there's not much more similarities you can get there. But, even what you talked about, I believe it's the profit scaling with profit and knowing your numbers. There was stuff there that I took away, even at our level. I feel like, there are little snippets in whatever size business you are that you can learn from and grow from. And, talking about your jaws of margin or your gross profit and how that works in with overheads. And that was an eye opener in itself, and understanding, pricing and revenue and then per clinician, and it all, once you master all that, then you can ultimately reward and pay your clinicians appropriately and better, but you as a leader need it starts with you.
Yeah. And the mechanisms don't change. If anything, it just gets harder as you get bigger, because you've got to stay within those boundaries.
Yeah, it doesn't break. That was some issues. We could talk about all the hard learnings and the challenges that we've had, and by no means I'm no expert. I've had to learn the hard way, but it's basically what you're doing at a practice of 10 clinicians, but doing it now at close to 100, and doing it the exact same, but having, the key people who know what they need to report on and have their KPIs and training and understanding what they're doing. And it's just different levels, but the exact same thing applies. You're just doing it 100 times over rather than with 10, and you have more moving parts. But I think it's easier in some regard because you've got great talent around you. Or if one leaves, I lose 1%, of your head count, whereas one leaves in 10, you lose 10% of your business potentially.
Yeah, exactly.
So, there's that benefit of scale.
Yeah. Fantastic, mate. Thanks so much for your time. It's been amazing. I feel like I've learnt so much from chatting to you. That was my secret hope.
That's all I would love if people get value from this, then I'm happy.
Yeah.
Helping the physio or not, giving back is important too, because I'm going to be seeking it from other areas.
Yeah,
it swings
exactly.
around abouts.
Exactly. We sort of realised this over time, how many people have helped each of us on our journey, and how much, many of us want to give back. And that's one of the most amazing things about physiotherapy, I find, is how willing everyone is to actually share their stories and their learnings and support each other. And that's why I think it's a fantastic profession to be a part of, and why I still try and stay as physio as I can for as long as I can. So thanks again for your time, mate, and I'll let you get back to it.
Thanks, Shane. Appreciate it. Keep in
Good on
touch.
you, mate. Cheers,
Thanks.
Jordan.
Bye.